Good afternoon. I'm Mike Kallstrom, as some of you know, and I'm co-chairman of the City Club's Special Programs Committee. Welcome to today's program on the Cuyahoga River, a regular news feature this year because of the anniversary of the 1969 fire, whose publicity helped start efforts to pass national legislation to clean up our water. In 1969, the lower Cuyahoga sported not only oil slicks, but very poor water quality, making it an undesirable habitat for aquatic life, a virtual dead zone. Our program today will highlight vast improvements in the Cuyahoga River watershed due to 40 years of public and private effort by the countless state, local, and national, regional organizations that have helped it to reclaim its place as a key feature of our region and are promoting optimistic plans for its place in our economic future. Our speaker today is James White, Executive Director of the Cuyahoga River Community Planning Organization and the Cuyahoga River Remedial Action Plan, as well as River Navigator for the Cuyahoga American Heritage River Initiative. Since joining the Cuyahoga River recovery effort in 2001, Mr. White has drawn on 30 years' experience in senior level management in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors to help lead the environmental and economic revitalization of our river. Having served as county administrator in 2 Virginia counties and as a chief corporate financial officer, he's adept at the art of public-private partnerships. He's most interested in developing effective long-term implementation strategies for the Cuyahoga River. Jim led the creation of ClearTech, the Cuyahoga Lake Erie Environmental Restoration Technology Enterprise Center, and the development of the Green Bulkhead Prototype Project for the Cuyahoga River Ship Channel. In 2008, he led development of the Chippewa Creek Balanced Growth Watershed Management Plan, the first such plan to be approved by the state of Ohio. He's also been closely involved in the development of the Great Lakes Regional Collaboration Strategy, supporting the Environmental Finance Advisory Board of US EPA and Ohio EPA. In 2006, Mr. White received the Lake Erie Award for Creativity and Leadership in Lake Erie Restoration from the Ohio Lake Erie Commission. Jim?
Well, thank you for that. It's truly an honor, Mike, and thank you for all the mostly accurate information about my background. Truthfully, I'm dismayed that you all are here, because I know many of you, and you're terrific, hardworking, civic-minded people, and what in the world you possibly think is more important than not being outside on a terrific day when you're sitting here and listening to me. I'm just very disturbed by that. But thank you anyway for being here. As Mike mentioned, this is the 40th anniversary of the fire on the Cuyahoga River, and it's certainly an infamous fire. And if you look back in 1969, you'll note, it kind of struck me the other day that 1969 was a year full of historic events. It included the first landing of men on the moon. If you may remember that we had some publicity about that. The Woodstock concert was held in 1969. The Manson slayings also happened in 1969. Another East Coast death, the Chappaquiddick drowning, occurred, and the Cuyahoga River had its fire. These are all memorable parts of our history, and they keep popping up in news anniversaries from time to time. And some of these events clearly had more impact on our history and our future than others. 40 years ago, our small, what we've all come to understand is a very embarrassing fire, was just another part of the fodder that people like to use when they want to pick on Cleveland. It's certainly been our historic legacy of being the mistake on the lake and the city with the river that burned. And I can't tell you the number of places I've gone around the country where people still think of Cleveland as the city with the river that burns, even though they weren't even alive at the time when the fire actually happened. It's been 40 years, so it's been a long time. So one of the questions that it's important to perhaps ask is, was the fire good for the region or not? And I'm one of these people that believe that catastrophes are gift wrapping around great opportunities. And I've always felt that the fire really produced way more benefit over the years than negative publicity, if we can just learn to get past it a little bit. Little did we know at the time that this little fire would also spark, as Mike mentioned, the nation's clean water movement. There had been a lot of pressure and ongoing efforts to move forward on clean water, but the fire was really very catalytic in encouraging people to act. If a river can burn and it can do that kind of damage and put people out of work for a few weeks while the bridge is repaired, it's time to pay better attention to it. So it was very effective in that way. And a lot of people, I keep looking for royalty checks from people that have had watershed careers because of the fire on the Cuyahoga River. And I said, well, you have a career because we had a fire, but nobody quite ever sends me a thank you gift or anything like that. I wish they would, but they never quite do. But over the years, we've had a lot of impact in only the last 40 years since the fire. And I say only because this river is 12,000 years old, if not a little bit older. And our legacy of urbanization really only dates back about 250 years, and our recovery efforts only been in the last 40. So it's a very short time period in the history of the river, and certainly the rate of recovery continues to accelerate. We will be able to look back 30 or 40 years from now and be amazed that the river ever actually had a problem, I'm sure. But there are thousands of stories we could tell about the river. And what I wanted to do today is just talk a little bit about investment, the relationship of economic opportunity and environmental restoration about the river, and what maybe perhaps some of the successes were and some of the future actions might be focused on as we look forward. The Cuyahoga River Remedial Action Plan is just that. It's a plan. It's a place where the stakeholders that were appointed by the Director of Ohio EPA gather, and they agreed on the problems, they set the recovery standards, they encourage restoration efforts, and periodically we report on the progress. But one critical thing that kept coming up in terms of delisting or restoration actions is that it's very clear to me, it's very clear to most of our stakeholders, that environmental restoration is more likely to happen when there's a perceived economic benefit. And the fire taught us to rethink how we value and how we should treat our natural resources. Up until the time of the fire, we were using the river as sort of a disposal conveyance. We just throw things away. It was like an open industrial discharge system. We recognize now it's way more important than that, and it's a huge natural asset. And it taught us, the fire helped teach us and the restoration community that we need to reach out and embrace our natural resources as assets, like we do our cash or our inventory or our receivables. So one of the things that I've done with our RAP model as we've gone forward is try to embrace the idea that what I would call asset-based management in our approach to the RAP plan. And I will loosely and quickly define assets here as resources on which we rely to one of two things: develop and sustain our prosperity, or resources on which we rely on to solve or overcome problems. If you have a problem, you don't go around and surround yourself with more problems and think that you're going to cure your problem. You go around and surround yourself with things that you can use to cure your problem. And so valuing assets that can help you be better off down the road is, I think, helps people, it resonates with people in terms of asset management. Capitalism, in its most loose definition, uses assets to create or grow assets. And embracing natural resources as part of our capitalist model helps us understand perhaps how we ought to approach the value of investment in natural resource improvements in terms of return on investment and what they do for the community. So one of our recurring themes that we use to promote the RAP and the RAP programs is what is called investing in healthy streams sustains healthy communities. Now, the key entry there is it links the idea of investment with healthy streams and healthy communities. But one of the things we need to perhaps clarify just a little bit is what do we do, how do we define forms of investment in terms of streams? Well, I'll go through a quick list and I'm going to give you a couple of examples. One would be recovery of lost or damaged assets. We have brownfields, we have areas like the river itself that was essentially unoccupiable by boats or humans. And so doing things that make it recovered so it's available to people is a form of investment.